Let's talk about the foundation session.
This has a lot of separate conversations built into it, and I'll talk about that. But first, I just wanted to share a quick story about the importance of this session. Several years ago, I was asked to film a class of mine because teachers were really wanting to see an actual Simply Music teacher teaching actual students. And so Neil had asked me to film a brand new class, the first couple of lessons. He wanted the foundation session to be filmed. So I knew I was going to be starting a new class of, I think it was 5 or 6 students, and that I was going to have my foundation session filmed for everybody to see. So I thought, well, I better be really good at this. And I studied super hard just to make sure I didn't leave anything out. And I wanted a good example of really compellingly delivering the foundation session. And because I spent extra time getting ready for that, I felt so confident when I delivered every section of that foundation session. And the outcome was this class was one of my best classes that I had had up to that point. They were so prepared and so ready to do what I asked them to do because I delivered that foundation session really strongly. And I just saw such a direct correlation there that really made a difference in how much emphasis I put on those concepts that we share in the foundation session. So it's just a really important piece of our curriculum. If you set this framework up from the very beginning and then keep the conversation going, because you do have to keep revisiting it, then you will enjoy some wonderful benefits from that. Neil presents the foundation session as the first lesson. Personally, I find that it's a bit much to share in one lesson, and so I have divided up the content into the first 4 lessons, and other teachers do it differently, and you can deliver it how you feel the most comfortable doing so. The reasons that I found it more effective to divide it up, or there was a couple of reasons. One, with younger kids, they find it really difficult to sit through an adult talking and talking and talking. And they're excited to learn piano, and I want to get them on the piano bench. So I have a particular way that I divide up the foundation session. And the second reason is that I think it's a lot of information for the parents, a lot of important information for the parents to try to soak in one lesson. And I want some of that to really sink in. So I'll share with you now the way I have chosen to divide this foundation session up. If you were to look at the transcript of the audio and the ITTP, these are the sections of the foundation session. There is a little bit before the welcome and the purpose, kind of a setup type conversation, but this is the part that you share in class. So what I do is at the first lesson, I do these first 5 sections, and I call them pretty much the same thing. Process and policies, I just lump together and call that a few formalities. And then also at the first lesson, I generally teach the basics. Sometimes I'll teach playing the chords at that lesson, and sometimes not. It depends on if they're ready. Then at the second lesson, I will cover these next 5 areas. And I kind of lump about Simply Music Piano, private and shared lessons, and declared goals, and about reading music. Those are all how Simply Music works. That's the way I word that. And then we talk about the student home materials at that lesson as well. And then when we get to the piano, then we start learning Dreams Come True and review the basics. At the third lesson, I then jump down to the practice time and talk about method coach and life coach in preparation for the long-term relationship conversation. And that's where we actually take a little bit of time out of class to have the students and their parents discuss and set and commit to a specific practice time. And then at the fourth lesson, I cover these 3 areas where we will start using the playlist. And so that's when I talk about repertoire and the relationship conversation. And then revisiting our declared goals is just kind of reminding them about those 4 stated goals. And depending on how the learning is going with Dreams Come True, at lesson 3, we may be still working on that, or we may be ready to go on to Night Storm. And then after that, just wherever we're at, that's where we are going to continue from. So you might notice here on lesson 3 and lesson 4, I have a question anyone can pose. That is directly from the composition and improvisation special program. That's the first step of that program, is that simple, is just asking, hey, did anyone happen to compose anything this week? We didn't assign it, we're just asking. And that's all explained really well in that program. And that's one of the first programs outside of Foundation 1 that I would recommend you purchase, because we can start using that program in the very first month of lessons. This is the way I have chosen to divide this up. Again, you could do this in 2 lessons, you could do it in 3 lessons, you can do it all in 1 lesson if you would like to do that. And by the way, toward the end of this program, I'm going to give you a template that you might want to use for planning lessons, and it'll include some of these elements in it. And you'll see in the download that I have given you a PDF of this screen. So if you want to start out by trying this way of doing the foundation session, you'll have that there.
Okay, we are going to finish up week 3 with the educator support section of module 4. And this one is the dynamic of claiming territory. And I find this conversation quite fascinating. Once you finish that, come on back here and complete coaching lesson 4.